always have Dawn because of her background and expertise in everything ad tech, marketing related, direct to consumer, e-commerce, you name it, in that entire category. And we got Dumont Project sold to cart.com. Dawn went there to be the president and chief customer officer. And like a lot of entrepreneurs who sell their company to large businesses, I think the average lifespan at the new business that's much bigger is like 18 months. She made it exactly 18 months. So now she is trying on I think she's calling it rewired hat instead of the retired hat. And her management and oversight of over $5 billion of ad spend by her blue chip customer base, all on measured media. So if I spend the dollar, how much revenue resulted, and primarily in direct to consumer, made her the perfect person to fireside this guy, Jordan Glazier. Please come up. So Jordan is the CEO of Wildfire Systems, founder and CEO. Jordan has the distinction of being the only founder in our portfolio that turned us down on our term sheet. So we did not win the round to lead the investment and be on his board at Wildfire Systems, but we liked him so much and we loved the business model so much that we still invested, not as the lead investor, but at a smaller number. And it's been fantastic working with him. So Jordan, previously serial entrepreneur, built a company called Eventful, the world's largest local events platform that was acquired by CBS. He led Client Shop as a COO until its acquisition by Internet Brands. And as an early eBay executive, he created major marketplaces for consumer electronics, computers, and industrial equipment, showcasing his ability to scale businesses from the ground up. He holds degrees from the University of Michigan, London School of Economics, and Kellogg Graduate School of Management. Super strong academic foundation. He began his career at Boston Consulting Group and built a multinational business unit at GATX Corporation. I've known Jordan for 15 years. He's part of the tech ecosystem in Southern California. We're very excited. He recently closed a round of financing for Wildfire at $300 million valuation, and plans to do big things going forward. So thank you both for being here.
He is so kind. He is so kind, isn't he? Oh my goodness. Thank you, Kelly. So first of all, I have to say I'm so excited to talk to Jordan. I love what you've built. You know that we've had several conversations about it. I see, coming from where I sit, I see so many clients have pain points and they need to generate revenue off of their customers, and loyalty and retention is an area of need. And so I loved your solution, and I'd love to have you share with the group really what drove you. You know, you've built companies, you've built many companies. You have over 20 years of experience in digital marketplaces, e-commerce, fintech. What drove you to ideate and build and grow Wildfire?
Thank you. And first of all, I want to thank the Moonshots team and for having me here. And I saw the agenda, and I knew that I was going to be following the esteemed speakers of last night, and Blake and Scott. You guys are a hard act to follow, so I made sure that I had an unfair tactical advantage of being on stage with Dawn today. So thank you for what caused me to I look at my career, and we all have chapters in our career. My career chapters were kind of consulting for the first third of my career with Boston Consulting Group, then building new businesses within existing large entities like GATX, which is a transportation and logistics business, eBay, built new businesses there. And sort of the third chapter has been true startups. And I'm a builder. I like the 0 to 1 more than the 1 to 100 or 100 to 1,000. And so when I look at all of the steps that led up to this one, Wildfire is really the result of all the pattern recognition that I've seen in every other stop along the way. I crave scalable, efficient businesses, and so I look at the platform that we've built. I'll give you like a minute on what Wildfire is, just so you have context. We build loyalty and rewards programs for everything from banks like Citi and Royal Bank of Canada and Banco Popular in Puerto Rico, giving you the full range, Microsoft is a big partner if you use Bing or Edge and you see rewards, coupons, cashback, savings, discounts built into the experience. We're the man behind the curtain on that. All the way down to multiple dozens of startups that are sort of building bespoke rewards or loyalty programs, whether it's through points or miles or crypto or whatever else. They build that on top of our platform. We're totally white label. We sit in the background. I like it that way. But the foundational layer is 60,000 merchants worldwide with whom we have standing agreements where they pay us about 4 or 5% of every transaction that rolls through our platform. We've got those agreements, and then on top of that, we've built a commerce platform that's a layer that basically handles all the tracking and attribution and funds flows down to fractions of a penny. I like businesses that you make money in your sleep, and that's what we've built. We've built this commerce engine that can monetize transactions through 60,000 merchants. Then the challenge and the fun and the opportunity, and Blake this morning was talking about like having the grace to be able to throw a bunch of stuff against the wall and see what works, and pivot. The fun comes in how do you pump as much volume as you can through that engine. And so we try that in different ways. We're doing loyalty through Microsoft and rewards programs for banks and sheer monetization for others where there's not even a reward for a consumer. Any volume you can throw through. And so coming back to your question of how do we ideate, in my last business, which was Eventful, we had, like many startups, a quilt of revenue streams. One of them was through the affiliate ecosystem. If you raise your hand if you know what the affiliate networks are, or affiliate, it's basically like performance-based, pay for performance where you earn a commission only if a transaction occurs. It's a whole ecosystem within sort of the marketing stack. That was a slice of our revenue, was referring people to Ticketmaster and StubHub. 1 million people a month would go through our platform. Honey, what do you want to do this weekend? We'd send them to Ticketmaster. They'd pay us 4 or 5% of the transaction. You could do that in your sleep. In the meantime, we built expensive salespeople and expensive offices in expensive cities selling advertising. You know that world.
Yes.
And so stepping away from that, I promised myself I'm never going to do that again.
Nope.
And so, so Wildfire in many ways is the culmination of what I found is the most efficient, scalable business models that we can put together.
Love it, love it. Can you shed light for the group here how you've been able to attract and retain the most admired brands in America? I mean, your list of customers and the partnerships you've created is just absolutely awe-inspiring. Just incredible what you've been able to do. So can you just share a little bit of that, if you don't mind, with the team?
So number one is perseverance. We just don't stop. Microsoft's now our largest partner, and it was probably 3.5 years to the day from the first time I got on a plane to Redmond to go, knock on the door to when we, till the first penny rolled in.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it is about spreading luck surface area, frankly, making sure that the right people that you want to be working with know who you are, know what problems you can solve for them. You build a trusting, credible relationship, and then you stay in front of them, and you continue to innovate with new, technologies or innovations that meet their needs. So that's sort of that's sort of the luck surface area. But then it's that persistence of not taking there's a lot of we talked about it yesterday a little bit. No is just no, not now, not no forever, and you have to keep pushing through that. Mm-hmm. Dealing with corporate America, we're small. Everyone else is much. All of our clients are larger than us for the most part. One of the things we learned is that most of the people that we're dealing with, even up to the CEO and every of Citi or Microsoft, whatever. No, we haven't spent much time with Satya, but most of the people in the stack that we're working with, while they want to, they think that of themselves as innovators, but the fact that they're in a giant corporation means that they are there's a characteristic. They're not entrepreneurs. They're not like starting business from scratch.
Yeah.
They are, and I'm trying to say this the right way, so I won't. It's like they're stuck in corporate jobs, and their main job is making sure that they don't lose their job. And that's what you're dealing with most decision makers, is that they're risk averse, and they think of themselves as entrepreneurs or innovators, but not really. And it always reminds me, there was when I was at BCG, this is going to be a tangent, but it's a fun one. When I was at BCG, I was doing a lot of work in Mexico, advising Cementos Mexicanos, Cemex. And so I was reading up on sort of, to understand Mexican culture. And there was a guy who was a poet and diplomat named Octavio Paz. He wrote a book called The Labyrinth of Solitude. None of you have probably heard of this, but there's a theme that came out of it, which is that there's a duality within Mexican culture and Mexican individuals, where there's the pride of the conqueror and the shame of having been conquered. And I found that duality so fascinating. You're proud, that Cortez came and was so powerful, but then you associate with the people that, the native people who had been conquered. That duality was struck me, not just for that specific culture, but I think within every one of us in every aspect of our life, there's a duality. And when you start thinking about that as an extreme and then bringing it back to this sort of corporate culture where you're dealing with like the corporate VPs of some of the biggest companies in the world, and while they feel like they are empowered, they're also just not wanting to, they want to get home for dinner. They want to not lose their job. They don't want to survive the next reorg, you name it, whatever it is. And so there's this duality of entrepreneur and corporate. And so thinking about it from that perspective, when we're working with people with that type of mentality, we come in as like we tap into the entrepreneurial side. We very intentionally tap into the entrepreneurial side of their duality. And when we think about, we think in hours and days, they think in quarters and years. And giving them like the adrenaline rush of working with us and being able to move fast and thinking about things faster, as we bring them into the fold. We bring them to dinner. We wine and dine them is the wrong word because it's not fancy. It's like we'll take them to Koreatown in New York and then to one of those karaoke rooms and get them singing.
That's right. That's
like
awesome.
That's the fun. It's not it's not white tablecloth.
Yeah.
But giving them like that vicarious thrill of like feeling part of a fast-moving, they become your best advocate and ally because they get this sense of like, I can be a hero too. You make them feel heroic within their own organization.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's so incredible to hear that. What leadership principles do you live by that have empowered your team, specifically in the current business?
I have a lot of self-doubt about my own leadership ability. I don't know if that's the right word. I remember back at Kellogg, and I'm much more practical than academic, but my most memorable class at Kellogg was a night class that I took called Leadership. And for 13 weeks, once a week, you'd go from 6 to 9 or whatever, and a leader would come through. And it was a spectacular roster. It was the CEOs of Motorola and John Deere at the time, et cetera. Geraldine Ferraro rolled through for a night. I mean, really interesting people. And the only assignment for the whole class was write a paper on what kind of leader you want to be. And my paper started with, I don't want to be a leader, because every one of those people were the biggest successes they could put on that stage were all failures, in my opinion. They had multiple broken marriages, drug-addicted children, unhappy, unbalanced lives. They were very candid in that, and I thought, man, that's not what I'm aspiring for.
Yeah.
So I started out saying I don't want to be a leader, but if I'm going to be a leader, I'm going to be someone that. First and foremost, I need balance in my life. I have a balanced life. I make sure that I walk my dogs around the golf course 4 out of 5. When I'm in town, 80% of the time. I drop my 13-year-old at school. I have dinner with my wife. But not just me, I make sure my whole company does that. Wow. We work intensely, but it's radio silence over the weekends, and past 6 or 6:30 at night, people are, I mean, of course, if you need to communicate, and people like it, so they communicate, you know, are chatty and texty and whatever, but you have to have balance.
Yeah.
We pick, I'm a micromanager until I trust, and then I'm the opposite, which is like my CTO. I admire the Blake and Scott. They understand coding or learning it. I've chosen not to fill my brain with that, or add to a full brain with that. So, but I trust my CTO completely, and so he knows to call if he needs anything. But otherwise, and we talk daily. But it's not. But the trick is hiring people that fill in your gaps. I like the 0 to 1 stuff. I know that I'm not, and you know, who knows where I'll be in, you know, years to come. But I don't gravitate towards the sort of ongoing operational side of the business.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I'm the wrong CEO for the business. It means that I have to make sure that I surround myself with people who are great at those things. Yeah. When it comes time to define how different departments are going to work together, that doesn't come from me, nor should it, in my opinion. It's them duking it out or solving it, working together to figure out where the handoff should be in the interplay. Yeah. So what we do is, you know, we're 80 people. We're fully remote. We don't have an office. Everyone is in the comfort of their kitchen or their living room or their, you know, guest bedroom or their, you know, wherever. The way we've solved for that, among other things, is making sure we're hiring like all type A, self-starting, like OCD is like, that is what we look for. Yeah. And then to guardrail against that, I do the last interview for almost everyone in the company, and and I'm the one looking for the red flags of toxic corporate culture, tumorous people, because you get one of those and it screws the whole thing. I asked the right set of subtle questions to tease out those flags.
Yeah, love it. You raised money last year, and in a climate that's very hard to raise money. Can you share with the group, you know, how was that? What were the lessons learned, or how did you choose who you decided to want to be in your? I mean, you're married to them now, essentially. Yeah. So, how was that process for you, and what would you tell the group?
We were, you know, we're a medium-sized fish in a smallish pond at this point. You know, we're very fintech focused, so the fintech investors have gotten to know us pretty well, and so had been tracking us and building relationships all the way through. So it was a relatively easy process for us because we had everyone warmed up, and then when we decided to raise, we had a few term sheets within a few weeks. I think that there's this. I've thankfully stepped away from the fundraising world. I mean, I still have those conversations probably weekly, but I don't think about it. You know, it's nice to tune out of that and focus back on building the business. Yeah. At the time, the sentiment in the market was it's very hard to raise unless you're doing great, and then it's very easy to raise. So there was a rush to quality, or whatever you call it. What do I look for? I look, you know, in my last business, Eventful, was venture backed, and we had. My attitude then was, as long as the check doesn't bounce and they stay out of my hair, that's good. That was my attitude around the venture investors. This business, I've taken the opposite approach, which is the non-cash value is much more important than whether than the investment itself. And Kelly, there you are. I'm sorry. We'll do it again next time. Give me a do-over. No, but we've been very careful. We've said no to a lot of investors. Yeah. That even strategic investors who company would have been great on the cap table. Yeah. but the person running their venture team was someone I didn't even want in the room as an observer. Like, not even a board member, like when you sense that someone is, if they're asking the wrong, the first clue is what they're asking the wrong questions, and digging into things that are irrelevant and tangential to like the core business. If they can't ask the right questions, and then it's I'm sure that there's good metaphors for, in the military expressions of like who you'd want in the foxhole with you or in the trenches with you. In our world, we think about who you'd want to get stuck in an airport if your flight's canceled, right? We look at it from that perspective as well. Who do you want to be, spend your time with? Who do you trust that, because things are always going to go wrong. You're going to, the business is going to screw up, and the business is going to screw up, the people are going to screw up, you're going to have fire drills and existential threats that come along the pipe.
Always.
Some of them are going to be externalities, and some are going to be self-imposed, and you never know which is which is which. Who is going to be there to have your back, first and foremost? So there's that trust, having your back element is equally as important to who is, structurally or relational, has the relationships to be helpful to the business.
Good. We were saying, Kelly was always saying it at Dumont, he's like, Dawn, no more assholes, NMA. I'm like, yup. And so we'd fire clients and we'd fire people. Sorry, not very popular, but if they're not working out, just get rid of the cancer.
No tools allowed.
Exactly. I wanted to open this up for everybody here to ask questions of Jordan. So please raise your hands. Any questions, please? Yep.
How often does someone make it through the filter of the hiring process, get to you, and you say, no, they don't pass your filter, like percentage-wise?
I particularly exercise that veto power when it comes to key roles, particularly product managers, or people who sit at intersections, very intersectional places within the company. 10 to 20% of the time that they make it there. And the things that I'm looking for, it's, there's a set of questions, but I often ask, tell me, it seems such like a simple softball for them, and it's where the flags come out. I say, do me a favor, take me through your resume from past to present, and particularly tell me like why you left each company and how you chose the next one. And as they describe the companies that they are at and why they left, you just have to listen really carefully, and there's flags in there all the time. It's like if they talk about it as they instead of we, that's a red flag. They did this, they did that. Or if they're blaming their boss or the management, if they use the word management at any point in their, that's like boom, done. Like as soon as they start talking about the decisions of management and why they didn't like the place anymore, it's like, okay, that is a sure a telltale sign.
Is there a reason that it has to be you, that it couldn't be someone earlier in the process asking those same questions?
It is not always me. I do that for key hires that I think are going to have disproportionate influence in the culture of the organization. I'm not doing it for every person in the
Thank you.
business track.
Okay. Any other questions?
What's your forecast for the wildfire business?
I want to keep. We've been growing fast. We've been in the top 50 or 100 in the Inc. 5,000 for the last few years. I think that'll continue. I like to resist the temptation to think about the exit. I mean, we think about it all the time. We lay out strategy. We think about who our marks are and make sure that we're building enterprise value with that in mind. I think this is more likely a strategic acquisition rather than IPO. So we make sure that we stay close to the dozen or so companies that we think are the right bullseye. But we're not in any hurry. Like we keep hitting new inflection points, which is really fun. So I want to just keep growing the business and executing. We're well capitalized right now. We're low burn. We've got, I think last time I checked, 112 months of runway, based upon just cash divided by net burn. We're dancing the edge of profitability on purpose. Every time we kind of hit it, we then do another wave of hiring because we're not here to build a nice little business. We're here to swing for the fences.
Yes.
Jordan, as someone, and Dawn, as someone who's built, scaled, and then ultimately exited business, can you talk a little bit about the thought process around the exit, who you're exiting to, that relationship, how you decide to go from being married to this thing and your investors to saying it's time to move on to something else?
Sure. I love building businesses. And then when I've exited those businesses, when I look at my career, every stop along the way has been a completely different industry. eBay was obviously marketplaces. I went from that to mortgage lead gen. Interesting business, but we got out of that just in time.
Yeah.
Eventful brought me, interestingly, into the music industry and the film industry because it was kind of in the events world, which was an incredibly fun set of industries to spend 8 years of my life. But when that was acquired and I went to CBS, I did the same. 18 months, mine was 366 days. So, boom. I was, not. Once you're CEO, even of a small company, it's really hard to step back into the corporate ladder. So I look at making sure that we have the biggest return as possible for shareholders and the team as shareholders, and finding. When I say find a good home, it's not like trying to find a soft landing. It's making sure that you find the place that's going to embrace the business for its qualities and then help it flourish from there. But I like to then be able to step away and start a new chapter in my life, so I don't get too much pride of authorship on it. I have to be able to detach and find a home. So I'm maybe a little bit more mercenary about it than some. We, in terms of nourishing those relationships, there's it's either going to be an existing partner or someone very adjacent to it that's going to find us strategically interesting. It's the best situation is when there's mortal enemies that are both interested, right? So when there's industries where there's 2, 3, 4 players that are competing, in a bloody death match, you want to be positioned within those from a bidding perspective. So we make sure that we are well positioned there and have all the right relationships across the spectrum, around the horn on those.
Yeah, mine was strategic for CART. They had such a large vision, but I saw 10x larger vision than the CEO actually at the time. So I had to kind of lay in all the things that we really should acquire and grow. It was definitely an acqui-hire strategy they bought 9 companies in 18 months, went from 100 employees to 1,800. So I was a part of that rocket ship. But when you have now 5 people in the executive meeting and then there's 30, changes the dynamic, especially as an entrepreneur. But was a really exciting company, and it's continuing on and just levels beyond what we imagined. So super happy about that and wish them well. Yeah, it was great. Yeah. Any other questions? Wow. Well, thank you, Jordan.
Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone. Bye.